Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're diving deep into something pretty fascinating. It's this blend of physics, chemistry, focusing on a technology called the Air 8-Free Maze Purifier. We've
Yeah.
got a stack of sources here describing it and really zeroing in on how it could be used in the food service industry, which, as the sources point out, is historically, well, a pretty toxic place to work.
Yeah, surprisingly so. Often overlooked.
So our mission today is really to dissect this thing. It's got this integrated architecture. We need to understand how the different parts, ionization, electrostatic capture, this labyrinthine flow guidance, and stabilized air pressure, how they all fit together.
Mm.
And then we have to evaluate some pretty dramatic claims. I mean, we have to talk about the elephant in the room. The idea that this system could be key to unlocking the biological shackles of human lifespan.
That's a huge claim. It
Yeah,
is.
it's massive. We need to see how the sources connect, super clean air to fundamental aging.
Well, they've certainly set a high bar. What's really interesting here is the engineering goal. They're talking about achieving nearly 100% total filtration efficiency in a single air pass.
Wow. One pass.
One pass.
Oh.
Leading to what creators are calling super heaven air quality. Maybe a bit grandiose,
Maybe just a bit.
but it shows the ambition, right? They're not aiming for just better air. They want absolute molecular purity.
Okay, let's start with the problem they're trying to solve. The sources talk about this hidden occupational injury, something that's affected the global restaurant and food industry for, well, basically forever, millennia.
It really is about this chronic poisoning that we've just sort of
Right.
accepted, normalized. Kitchen staff, servers, they spend 8, 12 hours a day breathing what these authors call the most complex and dangerous aerosol mixture known to daily life.
In enclosed kitchens,
Yeah.
open service areas.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not just like kitchen smells or steam. The sources get really specific, almost terrifyingly so, about what's in that mixture. We're talking cooking oil microparticles. They specify PM 0.05 to zero point 0.3. Now, PM 0.05, how small is that really?
That's the critical point. It's frighteningly small. To give you some perspective, a standard HEPA filter, a good one, struggles below zero point 0.3 micrometers. These particles are much smaller.
Okay.
We're talking maybe 11,000th the width of a human hair. They're tiny enough to bypass your body's natural defenses, get deep into your lungs, and even into your bloodstream, causing systemic issues.
So microscopic oil shrapnel floating around, but that's not all, is it?
Not even close. You're adding volatile organic compounds, VOCs. These are toxic gases like acrolein, benzene, formaldehyde, all generated constantly just by frying and grilling. Basic cooking.
Wow. Plus, you mentioned other things adding to this soup.
Yeah, the hidden stuff like residual vapors from heavy-duty cleaning agents, detergents, maybe artificial fragrances used in the dining area, and then there's the air conditioning.
How does that make it worse?
Well, standard AC systems often just recirculate the air, so they pick up this toxic mix, maybe concentrate it, and just keep stirring it around. They can even create what the sources call secondary aerosols.
Okay, so if you're working 40 hours a week breathing this, what's the long-term cost? It's not like people are dropping instantly, right?
No, it's more insidious. It's this chronic erosion. Things like chronic fatigue, skin problems like dull skin, a persistent cough, headaches, maybe weakened immunity.
Hmm.
The sources argue this workforce is actually where we first see the body toxin accumulation saturation point reached. Their bodies just hit the limit for dealing with this constant toxic load sooner than most people.
And what about customers? We're only there for an hour or two.
Right, but even that brief exposure has an effect. You know that feeling after a meal, maybe a bit tired, dry throat, slightly dizzy? We usually blame the food or maybe wine.
Heavy meal.
But these sources suggest those could actually be immediate low-dose aerosol poisoning symptoms. We've just normalized it as part of dying out.
Okay, so this slow chronic poisoning has been normalized for basically ever. This purifier system isn't just cleaning air, it's claiming it can undo all that systemic damage. We'll have to get into the solution. The Air 8-Free Maze Purifier. How does this whole integrated thing supposedly work?
Okay, yeah. We have to look at it step by step. The first two stages involve what they call dual ionization.
Ooh.
Yes. Step 1 is an initial ionization zone, maybe with some pre-filters. This catches the bigger stuff, dust, pollen, some VOCs. But step 2, the secondary zone, is really crucial for what comes next.
Right.
It does two main things.
Right.
It neutralizes any remaining pathogen, like viruses or bacteria, and critically, it blasts every single remaining tiny particle in aerosol with a strong negative electrical charge. It's like priming them for capture.
Electrically priming them. Okay, that leads to step 3, right? The electrostatic collection labyrinth. They call it the tox box.
That's the nickname, yeah, the tox box.
So if the particles are now negatively charged and the plates in this tox box are positively charged, is
Yeah.
it basically just a super magnet for toxins?
That's a good way to think about the basic mechanism. It's powerful electrostatic absorption, like microscopic electroplating, as one source describes it. The negative pollutants just stick instantly to the positive plates.
Okay.
But here's where it gets really clever. It's not just passive collection. There's a self-purifying function built into those plates.
Wait, self-purifying. So it doesn't just fill up and need cleaning or replacing constantly. They're claiming this tox box creates a self-purifying filtration layer capable of long-term autonomous regeneration. How?
Correct. It uses integrated electrochemical oxidation. So as these organic toxins stick to the positive plates, the system triggers a constant molecular level breakdown process. It essentially oxidizes the contaminants into harmless byproducts, like cocoa and water.
Like a tiny low-temperature furnace inside?
Sort of, yeah. It continuously decomposes the trapped gunk. This means, theoretically, the filter capacity never really diminishes, and the plates stay clean and effective.
That tackles the efficiency and maintenance problem. Very neat. But what about the physics? Getting nearly 100% total filtration in one pass still sounds challenging. How does the physical structure, this labyrinthine flow guidance, guarantee that?
Right. That's step 4, the labyrinth effect. This isn't just about filter media, it's about physical force and geometry. The airflow isn't smooth, it's deliberately chaotic and aggressive.
Aggressive how?
It forces every bit of air, every particle, through more than 60 sharp turns and perforations inside this collection maze.
60! Wow. So you're essentially making the particles crash into the charged plates through sheer force of twisting and turning?
Precisely. It creates these near-contact, high-frequency collisions with the charged surfaces.
Yeah.
And because the particles are still carrying that negative charge from step 2,
The moment they touch a positive plate.
bang, instant binding through strong electrostatic attraction. The sources claim this combination. The physical forcing and the electrical binding means no particle can escape to the outlet.
And there's a step 5 mentioned. Stabilized air pressure control.
Yeah, that's the final piece of the architecture. It's crucial for maintaining that consistent, chaotic flow pattern needed for all those collisions. It ensures the system stays at peak efficiency all the time.
Okay, so summarizing the mechanism. Electrical charging, chemical breakdown on the plates, and aggressive physical guidance forcing contact. That's how they claim near 100% single-pass purity that doesn't degrade.
That's the blueprint, yes.
Let's talk about the result then, the output air. It's supposed to provide these 8 frees. What are they?
Right, the output is defined as this superheaven air quality, which means it achieves 8 specific frees. They are dust-free, germ-free, toxin-free, smoke-free, odor-free, heavy metal-free, microplastic-free, and aerosol-free.
That's comprehensive. Aerosol-free covers those tiny oil particles.
Exactly. It covers everything particulate and gaseous that shouldn't be there. Getting all 8 is their benchmark for true molecular purity.
So if a restaurant actually installs this system, what's the promised impact on the staff? What's the timeline look like?
The sources lay out a pretty specific timeline for occupational reform. They say workers are the first to notice the change. Within just 2 weeks, the oily haze is gone, the persistent kitchen odors vanish completely.
2 weeks, okay.
Within a month. Improvements in skin health, better sleep quality, things you wouldn't necessarily connect to air quality immediately.
Interesting.
And then within 3 months, a return of physical strength, sustained mental clarity. Basically a reversal of that chronic toxic load erosion we talked about.
And customers, do they notice?
Apparently, yes. They report food tasting somehow pure, fresher. And they tend to linger longer because the environment itself feels less fatiguing, less draining.
This leads into a really interesting philosophical point the authors make. They argue that all smells, whether we perceive them or not, are essentially toxins.
Yes, this is a big shift in thinking they propose.
Yeah.
It challenges how we even define clean air.
Yeah.
They argue we're stuck in the age of fragrance. We judge air by whether it smells good, often using perfumes or cleaners to mask underlying problems. But true safety, they say, requires moving to the age of purity.
Meaning,
the goal shouldn't be air that smells nice, but air that has no smell at all, because any odor, pleasant or not, signifies the presence of chemical molecules, molecules that you inhale that pass into your blood, into your cells.
That's a powerful idea. Abandon the sensory judgment and demand molecular absence instead. So installing this isn't just about comfort.
Not at all, according to the sources. They frame it as potentially the first true act of occupational protection in the history of human labor, specifically protecting those who work right in the thick of the fumes and aerosols every day.
Protecting those who serve. Okay, so let's try to synthesize this. We've looked at two big things, this novel purification mechanism with the self-regenerating tox box, and how applying it could fundamentally change occupational health in a huge global industry.
Exactly. The core takeaway from the creator's perspective seems to be that achieving this level of air purity isn't just clever engineering. They see it as the masterpiece of science, an elegant fix for a chronic, hidden health crisis,
The hidden occupational injury.
a problem that's burdened workers silently for centuries.
Which brings us full circle back to that almost unbelievable initial claim. This tech, developed for restaurant kitchens, is ultimately defined in these sources as the only key capable of unlocking humanity's lifespan barrier.
It forces you to consider their underlying logic, right?
Yeah, I mean, how do they make that leap?
Well, if you accept their premise that it's the chronic, low-dose accumulation of environmental toxins that really drives biological aging and systemic breakdown,
Okay.
then removing virtually 100% of those airborne chemical insults, removing the constant burden on your lungs and blood to filter and fight them, that could fundamentally act as an anti-aging mechanism. It removes a major source of chronic bodily stress and erosion.
So, if the air we breathe is the biggest doorway for toxins into our bodies, what happens to our biological limits when that doorway is suddenly completely purified?
That's the question they leave us with.
Yeah, it really makes you think. What are the true limits of human health, maybe even lifespan, if we could achieve that level of molecular purity in the air around us? That's definitely something to mull over.
Air 8 Free Maze Purifier. The world's first single-pass purifier. Combining ionization, electrostatics, and airflow maze. The machine replaces humans. To absorb and destroy every toxin, air enters the ion zone. Viruses and dust gain negative charge. They pass electrostatic filters. Then enter the tox box maze. Aerosols dry on electrode walls, breaking down into CO2 and water. Inside the maze, air twists and strikes over 60 times. Each turn ends a toxin's life. Billions of particles in 0.1 second are fully purified. It releases Earth's purest air. The superheaven air quality. 8-free, dust-free, germ-free, toxin-free. Smoke-free, odor-free, heavy metal-free. Microplastic-free, aerosol-free. Not just an air machine. The only key to lifespan freedom. U.S. Patent No. 8268058B2.